I'm Tammy Williams, and welcome to Naturally Brown Woman, the natural resource for and about women of color. So, we are in the middle of a pandemic, as we sit here today. And the big question comes up of how do you plan financially in the middle of a pandemic? For some of us, things are tight and things just got tighter. So today we're going to talk to Renee Turner, who's been in the financial services business for over 30 years. So I figure if anybody could share with us, she can. Okay, so welcome, Renee Turner. Hi, Renee.
Thank you. Hi, Tammy. I'm so glad to be here.
You know what? I'm so glad that you had time to talk with us on today. And during this time, just hearing some of the financial situations. I know you mostly work with the underserved market, the middle income families. Just prior to COVID, what are some of the struggles or challenges that you've seen with the families? And now, because of COVID, have you seen some drastic differences?
Wow, that's a great question. So, with the middle income market, it is the largest demographic, and underserved because most financial services companies traditionally want to talk to people that already have a lot of money, that
Mm.
have a six-figure portfolio that they have available to invest or manage. And so, for middle income families, they've always been treated by financial institutions as pretty much transactional.
Wow.
Go through the drive-through window, call an 800 number, go to our website. And so middle income people have lacked any kind of meaningful personal financial guidance. And as a result of that, yes, even before 2020 started, before the pandemic, middle income families had a lot of challenges. The reasons I think fall in three categories. Number one, a lack of knowledge about how money works, right? Not a high level of financial literacy. Most of us go through our educational experience, whatever it is, whether it's high school, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, or an advanced degree, and we learn a lot of things, but we get very little education on money, how money
Yes.
works, personal finance. And so that causes people then to make financial mistakes. If you don't have knowledge in an area and you're trying to figure it out as you go, obviously you're going to make a lot of mistakes. The second reason is middle income people generally don't have a financial plan. And so they're going on this journey of life. They've got financial goals, buy a house, send the kids to college, have a good retirement, but they don't have a written financial game plan that's saying, okay, this is what we need to do in order to achieve those goals. So that's a setback. And then the third reason is they don't have a financial coach. Again, the traditional financial professionals only want to talk to people that already have a lot of money. And so middle income people don't have access to a financial professional. I call it a money coach that's going to say, hey, let's talk about what your goals are. Let's get a plan together. When things change, we can, kind of do a reroute. So I think those three reasons cause middle income people to have financial challenges before the pandemic.
Yeah. And you know what, Renee, let me stop you right there because you've made some really, really great points about financial literacy and just being able to get that knowledge and have that knowledge and looking at the average household, I remember young, it's like, okay, let's open your first checking account. Let's go to the bank. Let's do that. But then to have the extended knowledge of, okay, this is how we really plan the future. And so I don't know how many households have had that financial literacy, area in their homes. So I can see where that's a challenge. That's a great challenge. And you starting your business, whether you're an entrepreneur or just desiring to do something different, or just working in a company, not necessarily having your own business, but having those financial plan there and how that could interrupt or hinder progress.
You're exactly right. The majority of middle income people don't grow up in a household where their parents are able to pass a lot of knowledge on to them because they don't have the knowledge. And so we're taught, open that checking account, maybe open a savings account. We might be taught to be savers, but not taught to be investors. Maybe not really educated on how to handle debt, and how to try to create a life where you don't have a lot of debt and If you do have debt, how to get that debt paid off as quickly as possible. So
Mhm.
you're exactly right. If it's not taught at our dinner tables, for most middle income people, it's not. Then we step into adulthood without that basic knowledge. But the world treats us, because we're adults, as well, buyer beware. I hope
Yes,
you know,
yes,
because
yes.
you're going to have to make these financial decisions whether you have financial literacy or not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you were talking, I think you started to move into an area of where you're sharing with us statistics on what was happening prior to um, COVID versus what's happening now.
Yes. So prior to COVID, your typical middle American household had less than $1,000 in savings.
Mm.
So that means when things were normal, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Any emergency that was more than $1,000 was going to put that family in a financial hole, right? So less than 1,000 in savings.
Yes.
Most people acknowledged that they knew they weren't saving enough for retirement.
Mm.
And so they were concerned that, man, I don't even feel like I'm on track to have a good retirement. 50% of people that have debt report that they spend half their monthly income just on making their debt payments,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And then most American households, there's not enough life insurance. So God forbid if a breadwinner dies, whether it's that single parent, if it's a single parent household, or if it's a couple, if one of them dies, then the family is left to try to navigate with an income not coming in. So all of those things, Tammy, were true before the pandemic.
Mm.
People were already not on the best financial footing. And
Yes.
then with the pandemic, we all knew what happened. So now you find out, like literally one day in March, you find out that you're being laid off,
Mm.
and you thought you had a stable job, or
Yes.
we're going to keep you on, but your hours are going to be cut, or they might have called it a furlough, but we're going to bring you back as soon as we can. So if you had less than $1,000 set aside for emergencies, maybe you had some money in a retirement account, but man, if I tap into that, I'm going to have all of these penalties.
Yes.
I have this debt. These creditors are not showing me any mercy. They still need to be paid. And so people that were maybe not on the best financial footing before the pandemic, of course, were thrown into true financial chaos with
Yes.
the onset of COVID.
Yeah. So what would you suggest? What are some of the do's and don'ts during this time that you can share?
Right. Well, here's the reality. If somebody's not working, then you're just trying to keep it together, keep the roof over your head, keep food on the table. And that's just the reality. And so then it's just that message of hope and belief that you can navigate through these tough times, that you can be an overcomer. Don't get too
Yes.
drawn into
Yes.
the negative news, because you do have the ability to rise above and get yourself back on the right track. But let's say you are still working. No matter how tight things may seem, you need to make a commitment to saving money,
Mm.
to establishing or reestablishing an emergency fund. Even if you can only put away $25 a month, that's not even $1 a day,
Yeah.
right? So you're going to start making that commitment to saving money. Debt, maybe you've already created debt. You're not in a position right now to pay a lot of extra money on debt. The first decision is to not make any new debt. As
Mhm.
far as you can control it, if you've got an income coming in, no new debt, right? And so I want you to remember, if you don't remember anything else that I say over the next few minutes, that DEBT stands for don't even buy that, right? If you're
Yeah.
about to make a
Yeah.
purchase and it's not a house, or
Yeah.
you don't have to get a car, if you're going to have to pull out a credit card or fill out a loan application, when you do 90 days same as cash, that's a loan application.
Mm.
12 months same as cash, that's a loan application. That you're going to remember that Renee Turner said, don't
Don't
even
even
buy
buy
that.
that. I
So
love
in
that.
this era, don't make any new debt.
Mm.
And then you can put yourself on a strategy called debt stacking to just begin slowly attacking the debts you have one at a time. When you get one debt paid off, take the money that's not going to that creditor anymore, pay it on the next
Mhm.
one, next one, next one. So it's not going to turn around overnight,
Yes.
but you can start saving money. Don't make any new debt. Start working on the debt that you already have. And then the most important thing, Tammy, is to make a decision
Mm-hmm.
that you're gonna be prepared, because we don't know what's gonna happen a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. So if you realize you have made some financial mistakes, the great news is it's a new day.
Yes.
You can decide, I'm not going to repeat the past. I'm not going to make those same financial mistakes. And so as I move forward into this new normal, I'm going to make some better financial decisions and be better positioned.
Yeah, that commitment to do better. I think just like
Right.
in any other area of our lives that we want to improve in, it starts with a commitment, a whole mindset. And I do want to talk to you about that millionaire mindset a little bit later on, but
Okay.
just starting in the mind. And a very practical tip is we're dealing with debt, debt collectors. And some people, some companies have been very understanding
Mhm.
and like, okay, we're going to help you out. We're going to delay, for a period of time. But just having a conversation with the debt collectors. What are your thoughts on that? Just don't
Mhm.
ignore the phone. Don't just let it
Mhm.
ring. You see them calling.
Right.
Talk about that.
And that is exactly right. It is not a nice conversation. Nobody wants to have that conversation. Um, but creditors do have programs, and so take the call. And the thing that drives you crazy when you're talking to somebody that's trying to collect a debt, because look, I've been in this position. I didn't graduate from college with financial literacy,
Mhm,
and so I
mhm.
made financial mistakes. But having the conversation, and you're going to have to answer their crazy questions. Well, what happened? Why are you behind? Well, because we're in a global pandemic,
Yes.
my hours were cut because I'm not working. But once you get past that, just telling them, look, I sincerely have an intention of taking care of this obligation, but this is what I can do right now.
Hmm.
And just really being honest with them about what you can do and what you can't do. Don't make an
Yes.
agreement to do something that you can't do, because then they're going to call you next week and ask you, why didn't you do it? Right.
Yes. Yes.
And ask them, do you guys have any programs available? Can we negotiate where I can just, pay less money for a period of time, and so there are options that they have. If the person you're speaking with doesn't volunteer those options, then you ask. Let them know,
Hmm.
I want to take care of this obligation. This is my situation. So what options do you guys have available for
Yeah. So have the conversation, have the
me?
tough conversation, and try and work something out for
Yeah,
sure. Now you just mentioned that you went through, you didn't have financial literacy when you was in college. Tell us about that and your passion for doing this.
right. So I attended Georgia Tech. I grew up in a really large family, 9 kids, lots of love. My dad was a pastor, lots of spiritual values, very little money.
Hmm.
So my parents couldn't pass on to me what they didn't know. They were savers, they knew how to save. Graduated from Georgia Tech with an engineering degree. So I had more physics and chemistry and calculus than you could ever want to think about. But what I didn't have is any classes on financial literacy.
Yes.
So I got in debt, not only student loans going through college with 9 kids, my parents couldn't pay for us to go to college. And then, back in those days, they would have credit card companies at the student center.
I
You know,
remember
I,
that, Renee.
yes,
Even at my college, they would just line up. It was like a convention almost. And
absolutely.
everybody was there. And you walk up, and I did the same thing. Walked up,
Yes,
and it's like, hey, you can get this credit card. I remember the first time I walked away, and I was like, no, I don't want that. And I
right.
was telling an adult about it that, these people, and they're asking for a credit card, and they were like, go ahead and get you one. Go, and and so what did I do? I marched back in there, sign up for a credit card, and
Right.
why did I do that? But
Well,
yeah, when you
but
don't
you
know,
said the
yeah.
your first thought was the right thought. My first thought was, that sounds great. So, and then,
Yeah.
when you're a college student, you think that payment date is a suggestion, oh, well, it'd be nice to pay it by this date if you have it. So, I made financial
Yeah.
mistakes. So I came out of college. I always joke, I got my degree on layaway because I had student loans, right? And credit card
Yeah.
debt.
Yeah.
So really started making some like financial mistakes early. Unfortunately, didn't dig like too deep of a hole, but it really was a lack of knowledge. So early in, my husband and I met in college. My husband Mel and I got married right after we graduated, and he came from a family that was a true middle income family. His parents were educators. I came from a lower middle income family. My parents worked really hard to, provide. I thought that we were middle income till I met some people that really were middle income. Oh, this is what middle income really
Isn't
is.
that funny how that always happens?
It's all
So
relative,
yeah.
exactly.
And like growing
Exactly.
up, I really didn't know we didn't have money until it's like, oh
Met
yeah,
people that
we
had money,
did.
right? And so, I mean, he had money to go out to restaurants and all kinds of stuff. So, but so we, fortunately, we were blessed. We had somebody from the company that I have a business with come meet with us and just give us our first presentation about how money works and help us get our first financial game plan started. And at the end of that process, the gentleman mentioned that, they were offering the opportunity to get your financial licenses and
Yeah.
really become knowledgeable about money and investing and things like that and help other people. And that's when my passion began, because I honestly felt like if we could have 2 Georgia Tech degrees in our household and neither one of us have a real knowledge base about money and financial planning, there has to be a lot of people that are just like us, right? And that's where the passion began, to educate people about money, how money works, and at least give them the knowledge so they can make better choices. Everybody won't choose to, but everybody, I believe, deserves to at least have the knowledge
Yes.
so that they can make an informed decision.
You know what? This should actually be, if it's not, it should be a high school class. Financial planning should be a requirement in high school. When you're taking math, maybe an extension of math or something, you like, this is how you run your numbers.
I
This is
totally
how
agree. I
you
think
know.
it's something that should be taught in high school.
Mhm.
And then, for sure, even in college, there are things they
Yes.
mandate you take as a freshman.
Yes.
Why not
Yes.
basic money management,
Yes. That's the
So,
foundation course coming in, one of those
yeah,
financial courses. I truly believe that. And let's just talk about our college students for a moment. So we have students that just graduated earlier this year. Some are
right,
coming up to graduate, later, but all during this pandemic time, and their futures seem to be uncertain for many of them.
right.
I've talked to quite a few. Some of them are considering like starting their own businesses because they're having some challenges getting out there. What would you share with those? What advice would you share with them?
Right. Well, I think that's great. I believe in entrepreneurship. So I'm going to always be real, though, real talk, though. If
Mhm.
maybe you decided, I don't even want to get into that corporate system. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have a business. I think entrepreneurship is phenomenal. Everybody won't be an entrepreneur, but I think if
Mhm.
that's in your heart, you should pursue that. But here's the reality: you might have to have a job
Mhm.
while you develop that business, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so don't look at it as you're selling out or, you're not pursuing your dream. If you have to take a job, that job would not be your dream job probably, but if it's a job that's going to give you some financial stability, so you can put focus and attention on starting your business, then I think don't be ashamed to do that and don't feel like that somehow goes against the fact that your real passion is entrepreneurship. Then the other thing is you do have to figure out what you're passionate about, right?
Yes.
I think the most successful entrepreneurs, they find an area they're already passionate about, an area that they discover they really enjoy, that they like to explore this area, even if they're not getting paid to do it. And then you've heard that, find something you love. And then that way you find, then how can I turn this into a business?
Yes.
And it
Yes.
doesn't mean there won't be hard days. People say then you'll never work a day in your life. Hey, this
Oh
is the
yeah.
real world. As an
If-
entrepreneur, there are hard days as an
yeah. You know what,
entrepreneur.
Renee? I think those a person whoever wrote that quote, they've never
Right.
been an entrepreneur.
I agree.
They say, well, what do you say? A jack of all trades. What's that quote about? You can be a jack of all trades, a
Your
master of
master of
none.
none. Yes.
Whoever said that was never an entrepreneur because
Yes.
as an entrepreneur, sometimes you start off and you're doing everything
Yes.
yourself until you build up to that point. So you're right, one step at a time,
Right.
working your other job, keeping money coming in. And even if you just have to make phone calls or do your research, you can progress into it.
Right.
And that's how we did my business when I transitioned from working with a company. I took it one step at a time, to build up. And the first time I came out, I fell flat on my face. Second time, I got a little smarter and I started building up my resources, getting equipment and doing things like that, and then transitioned out. So I had something in place I could transition to. Yeah.
Right.
So it makes a difference.
And I think that's important because people will look at your business today, they assume that it was an overnight success, you never had any setbacks, and that's
No.
not the reality. So embrace
Yes.
entrepreneurship, but
Yes.
then the practical things, like you said, then you have that job, you need to save money,
Hmm.
you need to, try not to create a lot of debt. Some businesses do require, because there may be equipment and things like that, like you said, that you're going to need to build up some inventory, but as much as possible, do it without creating a lot of debt. I know we all heard the story about people that financed their business on credit cards and then they became a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
But there's many, many more stories of people that tried to finance the business on credit cards and it all fell apart. And now they're in debt and they're worse off, than
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think sound money management techniques apply whether you're going to work, for somebody else or whether you're going to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And you have two beautiful daughters, and I know they're all college, been to college and everything. And well,
Mhm.
actually, one, what did one, I think you just got an apartment, help one gets in an apartment. Was
Yes,
that in college or
that
uh,
was master's. She just, our
her
youngest just got
master's?
her master's in public health
Mm-hmm.
at University of North Carolina, just relocated to Baltimore, Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
and pursuing her passion. Her master's degree is in public health. Her passion is the food industry.
Yes.
And so she's going to work in that industry. Our oldest has a master's in clinical mental health counseling, and she works at a local university in the psychiatry department, working with students, helping them navigate when they're having some challenges in that arena and they need to get the appropriate help.
Yeah. So you know about advising college students and
Yeah.
just, sharing with them
Mhm.
good sound financial plan. So what was it like at your dinner table? Did you sit down and go like, okay, let's have this, conversation about money, or did you just kind of impart throughout the years?
It was really more the conversations throughout the years, not like this formal, let's sit down and talk about money, but them, of course, knowing about what I did. And then as they got older, starting to introduce ideas about investing. And then also, like my oldest, they're 6 years apart, when she got her first, real job, helping her set up a Roth IRA, which is something I
Mm.
think everybody should have. Whatever plan you have at work, take advantage of it. Our youngest, of course, just got graduated with her master's. So I just told her last week, she's about not quite 1 month into work, and that, hey, the next time we get together, we got to start you an IRA.
Mm-hmm.
You can start an IRA with $25 a month, 50 a month, 100 a month. It doesn't take a lot of money to get started. And they're both very hard workers. They're both really careful with their money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't spend freely. So, it's that combination of taught and caught, in terms of the financial things.
Yeah.
And they both have aspirations that are entrepreneurial as well, but they're starting out, learning and building, working with jobs.
Yeah. Renee, thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom and knowledge with us today. But before you go, share with people how to connect with you. Where can they find you?
Absolutely. You can go to www.millionairemovementteam.com. Millionairemovementteam.com. You'll find out all about me, a book that I contributed to
Mhm.
about building wealth, and how we can connect.
Yeah. Millionaire mindset. Before we go, I know you're just going to scratch the surface, but
Right.
give me the bottom line on having a millionaire mindset.
Okay. So my team name in my business is the Millionaire Movement Team. And my mission is to help people develop a millionaire mindset. So what do I mean by that? I honestly believe that every middle income individual or family can become a millionaire. And the reality is you need to. If you get a financial game plan done, what I do is I help you determine your financial independence number, the amount of money you're going to need at retirement to live comfortably. That's always going to be a 7-figure number. $1 million or more is what it's going to take for you to live comfortably after you retire and not have to go back to work. So in order to accomplish that, become a millionaire in reality, Why? Because nobody wants to work when they're 80 years old, right? Then it starts with the mindset, right? What you think about is what will come about. You'll never outperform your level of belief. So I believe everything, and this is biblical, starts in the mind, right? And so developing the mindset, the thought process, the belief system, then the work ethic, right? That you can become financially independent, you can become a millionaire. And it
Mm.
starts with your mindset.
Start with your mindset. Definitely mindset. And one more word of encouragement to all of those who are out there dealing with financial challenges because of COVID. Let's just
Mhm.
circle back around with them and just kind of give them a word of encouragement.
Absolutely. And my encouragement to you is, and it really goes back to what I just said about your mind,
Mm.
is that you have to protect your mind. Do not engulf yourself in the news, right? Know enough to know what's going on,
Yeah.
but it really is what you believe about your life. It doesn't matter what's going on with everybody else. You have goals, you have a vision for your life, whatever your situation is, no matter the hole you're in right now, and you can achieve your goals. So you have to think about not the life you have today. If it's not the life you want, you have to spend time every day. Think
Mm.
about the life you want. Think
Yes.
about how you're going to feel when that life becomes reality, and then put a plan in place. What do I need to do to get there? You can't
Yes.
do anything about the tree that you didn't plant last year or 10
Yes.
years ago. But you can plant a tree today, and it can
Mm.
become a beautiful, beautiful tree, blooming and giving shelter 10, 20 years down the road. So be encouraged,
Yes.
focus on the future, and set those goals and chase them down. You can do it.
You can do it. As a man thinketh in his heart, so
And
is
it's
he. Renee, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for empowering people through financial literacy and just helping us just to do better with our money. I will be calling you soon.
all right. Thank you so much. I,
Okay.
I had a great time. I enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me, Tammy.
Thank you. Thank you, Renee.